Hey there, it's Ryan with Midwest Tiny Living. I wanted to make this little video about this question that I get asked most often, and that is, who is going to buy your tiny houses? I think it's a great question. The movement is still gaining some traction, and people want to know what's going on with them. So it's kind of the first, who's going to live there? Who's going to do it? So I kind of boiled this down to three different styles of people that are going to buy a tiny house from me or a tiny house in general. And that is the full-time residents. I think that the number one is the full-time resident. Somebody that's going to be there day in and day out. That's their main home. That's their go-to location. They just live there with their family or alone or whoever wants to do it. So full-time residents. The second one would be a part-time resident. Somebody who wants it as a cabin or a place to get away to. Maybe they have a little piece of land that they just set this on. It's a really good, inexpensive way to get a cabin or a place that you can actually go to like year-round, because the way we insulate them, the way we build them, are a lot stronger and a lot more rigid and a lot more comfortable than, like, let's say, a camper or something like that. So, part-time residents, somebody that wants something. Also, if you wheel in a tiny house on a trailer, you won't need to put in a well and septic system necessarily. Maybe a well, but not a septic system necessarily. Code restrictions are everywhere, and that's not something I want to get into on this particular video or this conversation. But it can be a lot less expensive to build a getaway cabin with a tiny house situation as the solution, versus going ahead and building even a one-room cabin type structure because of all the rest of the things that need to go with it. Anyway, so that's number two. Full-time is number one, part-time is number two. And then the third one is a tiny house structure used for a different reason. And I'm really interested in this space. I just saw another article about a tiny house that was turned into a cafe, or they built it specifically to be a cafe or coffee shop. So similar to a food truck, where they have an indoor and an outdoor, so people can come down, sit down at the coffee bar, have their coffee, and then kind of move along. And I thought that was a really good translation into what this can be, because it is mobile, you can move it around, and that kind of led me into another thought about flea markets or craft fairs. And if you're a flea market salesperson, somebody that goes to the flea markets and then they sell wares, whatever they're building or are creating, you could actually custom build, let's say, a shop that looks like an old-timey shop, or an old general store, or something that looks really cool and unique, and set that up at your flea market, and then have all your wares inside, so you have shelves and bins and stuff. For the cost of a tiny house in this trailer, you could move the whole unit back and forth to your flea markets and craft fairs. And then while you're crafting or you're at these fairs, I think that you'd get a lot more traffic, because people are like, hey, this is a tiny house, this thing looks really cool, let's go up inside it. And then once they're in there, hopefully they'll make more sales. So that's a business opportunity for anybody who does craft fairs or flea markets. That's the third option. So really a full-time use, part-time use, or a different use completely are the three people that I'm looking for as far as who is going to be buying a tiny house from me, or a tiny structure as far as that goes. And that's it. That's this video here. I just wanted to make a quick one because people ask me that same question often, and I'm going to put it out there. So there you go. Once again, I'm Ryan with Midwest Tiny Living, building tiny houses and other structures on trailers if you need it. I'm also a full-time licensed realtor in Minnesota with Premier Real Estate and Jason Miller Homes. So if you are looking to downsize from your current house to a tiny house, or looking for land somewhere in Minnesota, I can definitely help you with that. And that's all I got. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back soon to talk more.